All right, everybody ready? I'll call this Health and Human Services Committee meeting to order. It's 4:02 p.m., May 16, 2023. We're going to start with Human Services. Mr. Ambrose.
Okay, we have two resolutions. First one is we had a psychiatric social worker move on, and we are, in order to replace the psychiatric social worker, going to abolish the position and create and fill a lower graded senior behavioral social worker.
Move it.
Second. County Board.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the second one, for many years, Catholic Charities made a prevention program and got state aid for Oasis. In the middle of last year, they declined the money going forward because they don't have the workers, they don't have the ability to do it. So our local government has been looking for someone to use that money for a prevention program. Twin Counties is agreeing to do that, so we'd like permission to do a resolution.
I'll move it. Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, up next, Ms. Gale, Public Health.
We only have one resolution. We have a vacancy for a public health technician. We had a person move out of that technician position into the public health emergency preparedness specialist position. So it vacated the technician position, and we need a technician, especially with the summer coming.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That's it. Thanks for the baby picture. Oh, I
Yeah,
think
that kind of made my day right there.
they're just adorable.
When is Victoria coming back?
The 31st, not the.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah.
Counting down the minutes.
I have an emergency right there, but this isn't for public health, is it?
That is
Social
for
welfare
DSS.
exam, yeah.
Oh, sorry, did I touch you?
Yeah,
on
it's
one?
better than.
You probably had to pull it off. What's that?
Yep, you're next. Commissioner Gibson, DSS, Director Grandinetti, Youth Development.
Just a couple of authorizations. To request, one is to fill a social services investigative grade 12A, base salary $48,090.
Second.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And a request, authorization to fill one senior welfare examiner position.
Move it.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
This is all I have.
We're gonna give that to sign it and give it to.
Yeah, we have a. That's the emergency thing.
Thank you
I
very
just have a
much.
couple of things I wanted to share with the committee. The Think Differently concept at Dutchess County. Bob and I met with Dan Amasi and Lisa Bellina, Supervisor Collins was there. We're gonna follow up with a couple of calls to COARC and Devereaux and a couple other stakeholders just to see that, so we're not duplicating anything. And we're gonna reconvene June 21st, and I think at that time we'll have a pretty good proposal by that time to get back to the committee. Okay, that's where that is.
If I could, this is something I asked Dan to put his attention to, something we passed a few years ago. I think it's a worthwhile program and it can help a lot of people in the county. So I appreciate you guys
Yeah.
jumping on it.
Yeah, and we just so happen to have Lisa Bellina at Cornell, whose background is in spectrum disorder, so it's a really good fit right now. So, the 23 contracts, there was a little snag with the insurance form, so I'm gonna have to redo those again. There's commercial, there's professional, there's workers' comp, so some of those sheets didn't have it all lined up, so I gotta go back to that. Not a huge issue. A couple of things that I'm working with the commission, I appreciate his help. Since there's not much funds in my office per se, he has some youth prevention funds. And I don't think there's a real difference between youth prevention and youth development. So he's allowed a couple of the programs. We have the linen stiff. Am I saying that right?
Bindle staff.
They're gonna actually do 6 programs in our summer camps this year throughout the county. And it's gonna come through some of the social service fund. So the commission and I got a chance to see them at the high school a couple weeks ago. They were pretty cool. So we thought that'd be a good thing because actually one of the supervisors asked me, are we gonna be able to do anything at the county level? So we reached out and she was gonna do 6 performances at six different sites. So I'm hoping maybe like Ghent Chatham or Ghent Kinderhook or, so we can collaborate. So because I think there's like 10 or 11 summer camps. But we're only going to be able to get 6. Well, Hudson has separate, so they'll be separate. So everybody outside of Hudson. So we'll see if I can figure out how to collaborate with different towns and get them.
The kids love that.
And
It's like a
remember-
country Cirque du Soleil, right?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Remember, there's all kinds of transportation that we're hoping to arrange so maybe
Yes.
a bus can go over to
Yep.
Chatham or Ghent on that day.
If that's county sponsored, could that be open to residents outside of the summer camp? Have it at the end of the camp day, so Austerlitz, New Lebanon, and Canaan maybe or something could share? And you get a bigger group of kids for a special event?
And not offend me.
So are you think like families as well? Or just,
Why not?
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
I
more
guess,
people.
okay.
Just a thought.
Yes.
Can I make a comment? Hi. Usually, Stephanie and Bindle Stiff do their free shows that they do are usually open to the public in their evening shows, and they do a full circus, not just the activity. So it's usually open to the public.
Okay, but what I'll try to do is coordinate it with Stephanie and the camps to see if it can be at the latest part of the day to get more people.
Certainly.
Okay. The other thing is, there's a boxing program that they run out of, the Moose Club out of Greenport and Columbia County kids. There's like 20 some of them. And right now what they're doing is they partnered with Greene County and they're using the Customato gym over there. So there's like 20 some kids that we're gonna actually support. Again, that'd be through fund as well. And youth, because it's the 3 to 6, it's the at-risk kids, it's right up the youth prevention money. So that's going to be another good one.
Males and females?
Yeah, well, yes, I'm not sure how many females, but there are some.
Hey.
Well,
There you go, Brenda.
I meant in this program that I'm.
No range there, right?
No.
There you go.
It's open to both.
And the other thing, so I was trying to figure out where we can get some more funds. So I called Senator Hinchy's office, and they don't have any programmatic funds, but they do have some capital improvement funds. So I had spoken to Mike West out in Morris Memorial, and he had a couple ideas that he'd like to do. And I spoke to the City of Hudson's Youth Center. So the Youth Center could really use some updating with their kitchen because they have a pretty good sized population they're trying to feed. So that was going to be, so all these capital improvements, either they're $50 or $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. So you can't just ask for a pool table. So you have to actually have a pretty good proposal. So it's Morris Memorial and the Chatham Crellin Park. So Mike would like to see a couple pickleball courts out on Crellin Park because that is I guess a fast growing trend out in that area. And so the pickleball courts with Hudson's Youth Center's kitchen was going to be a proposal that I brought to the senator's office. So there's no guarantee, but we'll try. The other thing is the website. Our website is really picking up some steam. We have all the summer programs that are on there, their times, their dates, who's in charge, contact information. And I can't take much credit for that. Sherry Franks has been doing, I mean, she's really, I mean, it's, so when you go to the website now, you'll see summer programs that are going on from Martin Van Buren to Alana. So kind of like if you go there, you'll see what's going on throughout the summer, which is pretty cool. So that's really been helpful.
Sherry used to run a heck of a program up in Chatham.
Yes, yes. And I think she's as excited as I get to put more of the stuff up there. So, we're collaborating actually with the co-host that comes out of, social services, because they also do a lot of this collaborating with events. So they're actually sending us the information. So it will be shopped out of co-host, but it will be shopped out of our website as well. So there'll be a lot of information up there. And the last thing I have to tell you, I watched this man over here, Supervisor Abdus, beat someone in 4 moves in a chess tournament. I mean, it was really impressive. There must have been, I don't know, between 60 and 75 people there playing chess. The old, like hit a button, your move type of thing. It was a really impressive event.
They will come from the New York City, Albany, or some of them from Buffalo, some of the Utica, Boston. So they have already, we missed like 20 people. They are not, it's not an advertisement so much, they call me, oh, I know the next week. Goes so that like a Crystal Hines husband, Oli. Then another, he was a regular player. So, he comes and says, I know the next week, I just miss it. So they have a lot of people
It was well attended. They had snacks and food, and even when Commissioner and myself walked out, there was actually a taxi cab from New York City that was pulling up.
Wow.
So they came from all over, well attended, young kids too.
That's
Young
been
kids.
around all of this county. There are a lot of kids, school kids, and they are attended. They have to be more organized and more people, advertisement. So I try to get them put in a register stuff. I don't know. It's not a amount. So if they know, they will become more people.
So who sponsored the tournament? Deuce. Right?
A sponsor is I got.
Well, you sponsor it, then you win it.
No. I'm not a sponsor. I'm telling you, they're sponsored by local, like Domino Pizza. They provided them pizza. Like a curry house, they will be half of the pizza. Donation come from some prize money come from donation for the arrange it for the gallery. So that's happened. So
Well,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
so
You should teach it.
yeah, I invite all everybody. You invite me everybody. There is a forum. What can I do?
Well, teach kids.
And can I just run these by you just to make sure I have the right? So we have Ancrum, we have Austerlitz, we have Canaan, we have Chatham, we have Clover.
I'm not going. I'm Canaan.
And there was a C we didn't have right there. So we have Copac, Gant, Greenport, Hillsdale, Hudson, Kindred, Livingston, New Lebanon. I'm just waiting for Germantown. Is there any other ones that we know of, town camps?
We send those kids to Greenport.
Right, so I mean, I know Stockport, yeah.
We are gonna have to start ours up again.
Okay, I just want to make sure I
Not this
get
year.
all the towns.
So let you know that every year it will be happen. Best to know. So we have a mechanical plan. We have a small community in the Hudson. And then maybe we will happen this year in Hudson. And we try to open a just training class. So it depends on me because without me, nobody is a trainer. So so that's it. That's it. They come up with the idea. Let me see how that works out.
They come from all across the land to test Abdu's skills, and they all go home disappointed.
Very quickly.
He's the winner.
I played, you never know, I played 2-time Olympic in 1984, 1986.
Yeah.
Chess Olympiad. 129 country was a participant. I visited, before I come this country, like 17, 18 people, government sponsored me to go play chess. So I was a national player, chess champion in Bangladesh.
Oh,
I was an international chess player, international rating player. So I don't know when I go further behind that. I was a young, I didn't married. I go all over flyover. I went to England. I went to the Yugoslavia. I went to and India a couple of times. I went to Pakistan. I went to Singapore.
It's a
that's-
So we're gonna have to give your opponents a handicap.
Yeah,
That's what you're
it's-
saying.
We're taking Queen before you start, I guess.
But I didn't play for 30 years. No tournament, nothing. So that is
That's
a lot of development and success right now.
Yes. Impressive.
Hello, sir. Office of the Agent.
Okay, I've got a couple resolutions. First one is authorization to accept an insurance payment related to one of our, an accident with one of our vans. Go check with the controller who's okay with it as far as increasing our revenue account and increasing the expense account.
Move it.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Their second resolution is to amend our contract with Anytime Home Care to increase the contracted amounts for in-home services through our respite program. Right now, Anytime is, they're the only agency that we deal with that's taking any of our cases. So they're taking, so we've got money in our accounts for the other three, but, we're going to actually be using their money because we're not getting anywhere with them. We haven't had I think it's visiting nurses hasn't taken one of our cases in 3 years. So we still contract with them, but
Are they having staff shortages and stuff
Yes.
like that? Sarah wants to know.
And Anytime can take the additional capacity.
yeah, they step up to the plate. I don't know what they must be paying their aides more. The only thing
I'll move it.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Again, our last resolution is authorization to contract with the Stuyvesant Falls VFW posts to use their grounds for our annual Senior Day event in September this year.
Move it.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All I have.
Do any of our supervisors have any questions for our committee members, our directors?
Ben said we're good.
That's a handsome young man. Any questions from the public? No.
Matt, no questions?
With that being said, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second, all in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Okay, I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee meeting for May to order, please. First one up is Mr. Chaika, District Attorney.
Well, everybody.
How are you?
Can you see it from back there?
I'll move it.
Authorization for the District Attorney to accept grant funds in the amount of $15,000 from Columbia Green Community College.
Move it.
Second, but Ray already moved it.
All in
I thought
favor?
we moved it.
All in favor?
Anything with a grant, Ray's gonna move money.
Second.
Taking money.
Second,
Matt was second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
I thought the DA was moving his own resolution.
All right, the next one, DA, Mr. DA,
Which is the next one.
the three
DA
DA interns.
That's for the grant. Grant.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
I'm gonna let John know I'm in the meeting. Sorry. The next one was the upgrade district plan.
All right.
As I told the point one committee this morning, commendably, in my humble opinion, the Board of Supervisors has been trying for a number of years to utilize the salaries of the various assistant attorneys. And through my neglect, I didn't notice that Krista Klein's salary did not fit in the schedule that the board had approved. And I'm trying to make it right.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So is she been out of sync since 2017?
No, since January 1st.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks.
We had a first and a second?
Yep.
All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. I think that's it.
No, he's got one more.
Oh.
It's another grant.
Move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You know,
So carried.
I was born in Claremont.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Does that bond?
Actually, I was born in the hospital, but.
From here on out, Ray, you can't do any of that.
This is the breakdown of that second grant.
That's it.
Jim agreed it from the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody.
Sheriff?
Here, just in time.
Perfect timing.
Can I just see the sheriff for a second?
Yep.
Hey, Kippy, what does Rob have to call him for?
He's a fire, they're doing a fire study for the village.
Okay.
So he needs to get some coordination, with some of the stuff, because he represents some of the office. Trying to street around for fire company.
Okay,
And that's been going on for 2 years.
he found that for what I need it for, so it's fine.
He knows, he'll know when we tell him.
We can go to 911 if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you, Mr.
No problem. Bye. Sheriff?
Hello, everyone.
Hello?
Sheriff.
Interesting information.
Okay. We can talk.
Yeah. So I have 3 resolutions. The first is authorize the sheriff's office to fill a full-time budgeted corrections officer position due to resignation.
Move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Second, also personnel resolution, to authorize the sheriff's office to fill a vacant full-time deputy sheriff's position due to resignation.
Oh, I had it backwards.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? So carried.
The third, very similar to last month, authorization to purchase 1 patrol vehicle and related equipment to amend the 2023 adopted budget. This is for a vehicle that was involved in a crash and just insurance offset.
Move it.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? So carried.
I do have the county inmate report. Dutchess County, $69,480. $480. Green County, $8,325 intake. Ulster County, $2,550. U.S. Marshals, $4,410 intake. For a total in March for 2023 of $84,765.00. Year to date, $187,925.00. That's a change from last year's $19,065.
Any questions for the sheriff?
I have a question. Thanks for getting back to me about the towing policy. I just wanted to bring it up, share sort of what I recently learned. So a small business owner in Hudson had reached out to me. They had one of their employees had gotten towed right outside of Hudson and sort of was surprised by how much the fee was. So I reached out to your office. Thanks for having the lieutenant call me back. What the lieutenant explained to me is that when the sheriff's department calls a tower, the tower can basically charge whatever they want. So they want to charge $200, $1,000, $1,500, like that's what they charge. And basically, regardless of how much they charge, there's no regulations for what they do, and they can charge whatever they want, and they'll still just be put back on the list. Like, right, there's no checks and balances based on what they charge.
As far as finances, we don't regulate their fees. I know in this particular case, there were some other extra fees involved due to, leakage and so on and so forth. But we don't check to see what their charges are, their prices are. Is this the first time we've ever had any complaint during my term anyway? I can tell you. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So the employee, I think, was just really shocked by how much it cost and felt like they didn't have an opportunity to sort of understand what they were getting into, or have an opportunity to call somebody else. So I don't know if there's, like, I wasn't there, but I don't know exactly what happened, but I don't know if there's a policy where sheriffs explain, or deputies explain to people, hey, by the way, you have 30 minutes to get someone. If you don't, we're gonna call someone and that person's gonna charge whatever they want. Here's how this works.
Well, I think it's case by case. If the car is in the roadway and it can't be moved, if the car's totaled and it's obstructing traffic, obviously we have to get it moved in a timely manner. And we may just do a call by rotation. It's not, we don't use the same tow company over and over. It's a rotating list. But there is a policy in place that there is owner discretion if they want to use tow company A instead of tow company B, or they just have a preference where they want it towed to. We do allow for that. However, we have to take safety into effect as well.
Is there a way to put a cap? So if tow companies want to be on your list, that they can charge their rate up to a certain amount?
I'm not going to check with the county attorney's office, but I don't think we can regulate what they're charging. I think it's just a matter of, them doing, proper business etiquette and ethics. We can look into the charges, but I don't think we can regulate in any way, shape, or form other than, to my knowledge.
Don't they bid them? I thought they bid certain highways.
Chairman, I just wanted to make a comment that has been researched in the past, at least 10 years ago, and I took the position to the county attorney's office, and there's a lot of liability that goes with it, and other things. We do regulate the insurance, or we did, I'm sure they still do regulate the insurance they have to have and all that, but actually setting price that they, and I think it's still that they have to charge a reasonable rate, but it's still their rate, whatever it is. But it has been researched in the past through the county attorney's office, and they felt that it wasn't.
Do we know if they're charging more for these calls from the sheriff versus a private call from individual A that's told, that's broken down on the side of the road? Like if they're inflating their prices for when it's this necessity call, that seems
I think
unreasonable to me. If it's their regular rates, that is what they charge to everyone, whether it's.
I don't think that they're not a regular rate.
You think it's an inflated rate?
I mean,
But we don't know what the rate is.
right,
So you're not telling us what the rate is, so I can't say it's inflated. I mean, it might be $200 and you guys just thought it was too expensive.
right. In this case,
You gotta know.
in this case, pulled over. I think they ran off the side of the road, hit a sign, so they had fluid leaking from their car. Right outside of Hudson, they got towed to Elizaville. They actually wanted to get towed to a place that was closer, and the tow truck insisted on bringing them to their place. $1,500. They went and picked it up at 9 a.m. the next day. $1,500.
Does the city of Hudson have a?
It was right outside of Hudson.
No, I mean, does the city of Hudson have a program for towing? Because a lot of the municipalities,
They have it.
they will put it out to bid, like
Yeah.
the state police, this New York State puts it in Parkway out to bid. So only that provider can come out and phone. That was one of the issues.
Is this contract bid? Is there a contract and is it bid?
No, it doesn't sound like it.
we have a rotating list of tow agencies throughout the county. Like the director stated that, we do ensure that they have the proper insurance for coverage. But we can do our due diligence and reassess what's going on with our towing procedures.
Yeah, because I had a deer on the Taconic and got towed further than what you're talking about, and I think it was $200, so for $1,500, and I could get it towed wherever I wanted to get it towed. I don't think it should be the
Did that
discretion
include the repairs?
of the tow
The
driver.
$1,500? That was just a fee.
What bothers me, I was in the trucking business and we had a truck that broke drive shaft that took out the hydraulic line. It cost us over $15,000 to clean up. That's what I said, when you said there's a spillage, that's where the price is gonna go up, because they have to clean up that spillage, whatever it was. I don't know if it was antifreeze, I don't know if it was oil or whatever it was. So on top of the tow, you're paying for that. That's usually something you throw through your insurance anyway when you have something like that happen. Because somebody's got to take care of that. If they come in, I mean, we had guys come from New York State come down, big enough spill, happens. So.
And I would encourage whoever the car it was to just contact us and discuss the matter. And Lieutenant Badansky address it, and we can talk to them.
Right, I guess that's what I was trying to figure out. Like they reached out to me. I don't know going rates, but it sounded like a lot of people could not afford $1,500.
I don't think there's going rates, but I think there's extreme rates.
Right.
So if somebody comes out at 3 a.m. in an ice storm, they're probably going to charge you more than, regular, but, have them reach out to the sheriff and they'll look into it.
And obviously it depends on how far they're being towed. If it's 300 yards off the road, the wood area, they gotta put a couple trees down and, go wade through a lake or something to pull the car out. But this sounds like it's pretty cut and dry other than the fluids that were leaking, and I don't know what those fluids were. Unfortunately, it's been pretty crazy, so I didn't get a chance.
And then, I don't know where they came out of either. I mean, maybe where yours was for 200, but someone's not coming out of East Greenbush to Hudson, then go to Lizago for $200. So, it's probably, but that seems excessive.
And they've always had, if you have, unless you change it, Sheriff, but there's going to be ability in most cases. So
Yeah, still.
if they can make it there unreasonable.
Like the AAA. That's gonna cover it.
It seems high, but.
My understanding was the person felt like they weren't allowed. Like, I don't know exactly how it was communicated, but they felt like they weren't allowed to call them the first preferred person.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the way, obviously, I don't know the circumstances, firsthand. I can look into it, and we can have a discussion. By all means, bring the individual with you, and, we'll go further.
Sheriff, can you just tell me about the counties?
I can tell you the count is
You'll be
40.
disappointed if I yes.
I can look it up for you right now, but it's the count is 48. I can't tell you how many we have outside the county. It is significantly lower. All the incarcerated from Dutchess County have been returned to Dutchess County.
Oh, okay.
But it is significantly lower. However, it's still much higher than January of last year, so which was 23.
Thank you.
I guess that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
911?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have a resolution request, authorization to update agreement with Consolidated Communications to add fiber point-to-point to the Gallatin Tower. Its initial cost of $414 per month extra, but with the new pricing scheme, we're going to come out saving about $354 a month after we install it. So overall, it's less than we paying currently.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? So carried.
I know. There's a reduction.
It's a grant. There's money coming in. You still have to-
It usually comes with the grant, right.
Agency data for April of 2023, we received 5,422 calls. That's incoming only for the month. We dispatched 1,260 EMS agencies, 317 fire agencies, 1,764 police polls, and 289 public service calls. That's all.
Thank you.
I
And,
have a question. So we're in the process of looking at possibly a new facility out there where our old highway garage was at Philmont. We're not sure yet, but we're in the process. The one thing that came up and people have talked about is putting an ambulance bed out in that area. And we were looking at, well, could we add it on to our complex, have it taken care of, paid for, and you guys would utilize it. So could you find out for me to see if it's something that, I know you're spread thin as it is, maybe you don't have the ambulances even to staff it, but
Yeah.
if it would work, give me a name of somebody I could talk to see if it's something they would like to look at.
Yeah, I'll talk to PJ and we'll bring in the right people to get that
Right.
answer for you.
Because we're in the process of grants and everything else getting, and everything we add to it seems to make the grant go way up, stuff like this. And I think it would be good for the community, especially with Pine Haven. It's close, so just food for thought.
Hope and Burning started, correct?
Yes.
Make sure everybody knows they have to call in there.
Good.
Not to 911 too. The other number.
HB 411.
Correct.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right.
So even though
Hey, Rob.
they're advising you not to burn yet.
Yeah, it's so dry.
Still dry.
Do you have
No,
an
you can,
update
but
on the
they're advising
Lebanon tower?
Still dry.
So
After
the-
this weekend, we should probably-
The tower company is, we awarded.
Supposed to rain this
the
weekend?
tower company, the shelter company. We're meeting with NICEAG on Monday about the power going up there. So we're starting preliminary stuff. We laid out the driveway with the county engineering group. And that's about where we are right now.
You got approached by commercial uses for the other towers?
No, I haven't been approached. I am starting to reach out.
Okay, so perhaps Chatham should amend its Monroe Act law. Is that correct? I think when we set it up with you, we didn't allow for.
Oh, for like cell companies?
Yeah.
I have to look at that. I have to read your resolution again.
New Lebanon,
Oh, they
our
will.
waiver is for you as 911. If a cell tower wants to come in, they have to go through our normal telecommunications process. So it's not that they're not allowed, but they are not exempt
Yes, that I
from
remember.
our process.
I have to,
We talked about splitting. I don't mean to digress the committee meeting, but
yeah, look, I'll look at the resolution, you as well, and maybe we'll circle back on the conversation with you about that. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd like to apologize to the board, just to let you know, Trustee walked in with a blizzard and we didn't get an email or a text.
Yeah,
before
I was
she
gonna-
got here.
I was gonna mention
So I just thought I'd bring everybody's attention. Ice cream?
You can take orders the next time.
But did that blizzard make her leave?
No, the bathroom.
Director Harrison?
I can't follow that.
Well, you know, yeah, you're not important. We're looking at what you brought in.
About blizzards and food.
Next time she comes in, we're bringing her a list. Go ahead.
Our activity report, there's no resolutions. We did have our first since pre-COVID citizen preparedness training course down in City of Hudson, which was well, attended, and it was really the New York Hampshire Guard put it on, so it was a good course. And we recently met with the Columbia County Highway Superintendents Association to talk about, the bad major storms that we have and putting them together with power companies during the storm so that they can make safe and allow for passage through those areas. One other thing, we had a meeting this morning, the chairman of the local emergency preparedness committee, John Parigi, asked me to pass along. Last month, I told you that we were able to arrange a meeting with Amtrak Emergency Management. That meeting went well. This month, the fire coordinator was able to have a representative from CSX come to our committee meeting this morning. Very good meeting, I thought. And we have a lot of information. We have a lot of good contacts. And we know, basically, what can be going through the county at one point, whatever. What travels along the river route, which is basically propane and garbage for freight, which is minimal. And, it's a very good, it may take a year or two because they're so busy, but we're gonna try and arrange for at least a tabletop exercise up in that area. Out in the village, that's probably the worst case. Any questions?
What's coming through Chad and King?
Anything that could be bad, worse, could be the
That's
worst
what I
stuff, but that being said, it's been very safe. The last derailment when there, with a leakage, was in the mid-80s, and it was actually fuel from the engine, it wasn't any of the cars. So we can't even remember when there's been a hazardous material leak from the cars that they're pulling through.
There's been derailments, because when I was a kid, they put them all over Locust Street onto the road.
Yeah, there's been some derailments, but as far as hazardous material leaks and incidents, that's the only one we could, and that was in Niagara. So that's the only one we could come up with. And again, that was diesel fuel from the engine, so.
They probably don't go that fast, do they?
It is.
Do they go that fast coming through all these towns like out west? I know it's more wide
surprised by
open.
the number of sensors they have for wheel bearing, heat, and all this other stuff, and the actual automatic sensors that they have on the cars. And they're more regulated than I realized by federal government. And, we kind of talked about what would happen if something did, bad happen, and what would they expect from us. Obviously, the fire chief has a lot of authority in that, and the chiefs know that, and we have an active hazmat team that's Twin County now. But I have a good feeling about where we are, and that we're doing everything we can right now in that regard. So that doesn't mean that something bad couldn't happen tomorrow, but I think we're able to handle it. We can as best we can.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we have the school bus safety individuals who are on Zoom call. If you could please, Greg and Ian, if you could please introduce yourselves, and I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Greg Pulver, Chairman of the Dutchess County Legislature.
Owen Rafter, Commissioner, Planning and Development, Dutchess County.
So we asked them to be here.
We asked you to be here to sort of do another discussion / presentation on the bus cameras and sort of give us an update on that. I know there were some individuals on the committee that had some questions, and if you could take it from here, I'd appreciate it.
Owen, do you want to start off?
Sure. So the program started in earnest in February of 2022. To date, the program has resulted in just short of 11,100 violations. That is across all of the different districts that actually participate in the program. Right now, that's 9 of the 13 districts in Dutchess County. We're in discussion with 3 more remaining districts to enter into the program. One so far, the Rhinebeck Central School District, has decided to opt out of the program. The program is a demonstration program per New York state law. So the state law for the demonstration expires at the end of 2024. So unless the state renews this program, the ability to conduct this program would expire at this point. We do have a contract with Bus Patrol. They are the vendor that provides the service in the install of the cameras in the back end. So all the back end system for the equipment, the evaluation, the pulling together of all the video data that then our county enforcement technicians review to decide if a violation occurred or not. Bus Patrol handles all of the violation notices, the tickets, everything that is sent to the registered owner of the vehicle. And at that point, they can either pay electronically, or if they want to contest the charge, they can contest and seek adjudication at the local courts.
Can you explain why Rhinebeck opted out?
I cannot. I think you'd have to speak to the school district themselves. I would venture it has something to do with the municipality.
And then the other question I have, and then I'll turn it over, is enforcement of this, if I recall, was one of the issues, correct? If somebody chooses not to pay or not to do anything with it, what happens?
So the violation, the Bus Patrol will send notices out to all of them, but the law does not require or enable anything to force someone to pay other than the violation notices at this point. So there's no points, there's no liens, there's no hold on anything.
And if I remember correctly from your last presentation, even with the people that choose to ignore it, there is still revenue coming in. There's no cost to the county, and we are making our children and bus drivers safer.
There's no direct cost to the county. The county to date has not received any revenue because the revenue has not exceeded the technology fee that we pay per bus. The municipalities, though, the individual municipalities all get 10% right off the top. So the individual municipalities, the 30 towns and villages and cities, well, excuse me, except for the city of Poughkeepsie, are receiving revenue. The city of Poughkeepsie cannot participate in our program because their school district is contiguous with the city boundaries. So by state law, they can't be in the county program. Bus Patrol is trying to negotiate an agreement directly with them.
So it's not the county that collects the revenue, it's whatever town the ticket is issued in. If the person that received the ticket pays, then the town directly gets a check from Bus Patrol?
So the state law requires a 90-10% split. So if the county were to enact it, the county would get 90% of the revenue, the town gets 10% of the revenue. The split therein becomes part of your negotiation with whatever vendor you're going to have. So based on whatever that revenue split you're going to have with the vendor will result in what direct revenue the county gets from that 90% split. We're in a 60-40 split right now with Bus Patrol. Because of the technology fee we pay per bus, we have yet to receive any funds directly from Bus Patrol as direct revenue.
But it doesn't cost you anything.
Correct. Correct. They're paying us for the salaries of the enforcement technicians that are reviewing the violation, the potential violations. So we get reimbursed for that direct cost.
What is the technology fee?
Our technology fee is $185 per vehicle that is installed with internal and external cameras.
Of the 11,000, what'd you say, 11,100 violations? Yeah.
Correct.
So how many of those people, how many of those violations have paid? How many of those people have paid The fee.
Give me a second if I have that number right now. I don't know if I have that number directly in front of me. Give me a second. I'll try and pull it up. I unfortunately do not have that number readily available in front of me at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
The 185 per vehicle for the technology fee for internal, external cameras, is that a monthly fee? Is that a one-time fee?
Monthly.
And that's cost to us, correct? Or is that
No, it
also
comes out of that
offset?
it
Comes out of the
comes out of the
revenue.
revenue. So until we exceed the actual revenue, the revenue exceeds the technology fee, we don't get any revenue.
What if the
And
revenue
that's-
is less than the technology fee? Do you owe bus patrol
No.
a check?
No. And, you know, to clarify, this is the negotiation that Dutchess County made with Bus Patrol. If you were entering into an agreement with a vendor, you would be negotiating all of these rates and all of these conditions.
How many county staff do you have, working on this in terms of sending the letters out and if somebody were to,
The only thing county staff does is review the data to ensure whether a violation occurred or not. All of the sending, the transmission of the violations, the notices, all of that is done by Bus Patrol. We have 2 part-time employees that review data as it comes in. And that's done through an online portal. So our 2 employees that do this are doing it remote.
You said there's internal and external camera, correct, in each bus?
Correct.
The
Per
internal
choice of the
cam-
district.
I'm sorry?
Per choice of the district. The districts decide if they want either or both.
And the internal cameras is doing what?
So the internal cameras are set up so they can securely check the operations are occurring inside the bus. The state law requires that that would only be accessible to the school district and the county would not have access to it. And conversely, on the external cameras, only the county has access to that data. The school districts do not.
So internally, it is taking video of the kids on the bus.
Correct.
So I did have the superintendent of the transportation department for the New Lebanon Central School District reach out to me. He strongly urges us to pass this. Bus Patrol is the company also that Rensselaer County contracts with. So New Lebanon Central School District shares Columbia County and Rensselaer County, similar to, I believe it was Ancrum or Copake. But the reason Dutchess County came to us was that there's Gallatin, thank you. So New Lebanon School District's in a similar situation where we border Rensselaer County. Rensselaer County also uses Bus Patrol, so it's good to hear that both kind of neighboring counties that share school districts with Columbia County use the same vendor. And just to my colleagues on this committee, our school is requesting very enthusiastically and strongly that we sign up for Bus Patrol. Rensselaer County has been signed up for almost a year and had nothing but beneficial outcomes. Again, no cost to the county. Even if it's a flat wash, we are making it safer. We have a lot of issues in the New Lebanon Central School District with cars passing buses that are stopped and making it an unsafe situation for our students. And so I would strongly encourage that this committee take the next step, which would be to meet with Bus Patrol as the vendor and start to talk about.
did you bid the vendor or was it a state?
No bid. Bid.
Do you have any,
Go ahead. No, you're.
do you have any data that would suggest that this is actually deterring unsafe driving?
I'd say it's a little too early to tell. With only a year's worth of data and the school districts coming on sporadically throughout that year, we don't kind of have a good year-over-year estimate where we can look to see where the violations are occurring. To see if there is a change in the violations occurring. Bus Patrol, in their response to the RFP, said there is an expectation that the violations will go down over a period of time. We have seen some decreases, but it has been a decrease a month or two and then an increase. So we haven't seen an overall trend to that as of yet. What I will tell you is we're seeing 10 locations throughout the county that are consistently the highest locations of violations. And the majority of these violations are occurring on multi-lane highways that are divided. So for those of you that may know, Route 9, town of Wappinger, town of Poughkeepsie, and then Route 44 and or 55 in the town of Poughkeepsie has seen a significant number, the highest percentage of our violations are occurring on those two roadways.
So the county, if the county opts into this, then it goes to each school district who would then decide if they want to do it or not?
Correct. If the school district wants to participate, they have to enter into what's called an opt-in agreement that you would develop with your vendor. That would be between the school district, the county, and the vendor to do it. The other thing you should be aware of is if you do have any school districts that have a third-party vendor, so say a First Transit or another private operator, that may require a different and separate agreement between the school district and that vendor and the bus patrol or whoever you would provide for the cameras.
And if if only one school opts in, they'll still do it?
I can't answer that. I don't know what the company would say at that point.
I almost think the next step would be is to bring bus patrol in for a conversation to, to see.
I would caution you, you might want to check with your purchasing agent before having a direct conversation with one vendor. Unless you're looking to piggyback off of someone else's, that might not follow procurement procedures.
I mean, no, do the school districts other than New Lebanon even know about this? I mean, maybe the next step would be to speak to the superintendents.
No, they do, I think.
And are they all interested?
I'm not sure if they're interested. I know they're aware of it.
I know the man in Pine Plains who recently retired. He was very much in favor of this. He was there, the military guy, was principal there, or head of the district there.
I mean, I'd be willing to call the superintendents in the county and just sort of check their temperature that, this is what the county's semi-interested in doing or not.
Yeah.
And then I could report back and then say,
yes.
And they may also have to reach out to some of the private contractors, like Germantown doesn't own any of their own buses. It's Zencelli and.
Well, and once I call the school, then I'll find out. Then we would call an event.
Another potential route, because New Lebanon has proactively said, we want to do this, and according to
Can
that.
they just do it directly?
Well, they could they have a connection to all the other schools.
Right.
So I could say to him, the county's interested, we want to hear from the schools, and have him actually poll the other school districts, including the contracted companies, and get a report back. Now, you guys mentioned a piggyback. Do you know if your contract with Bus Patrol, your RFP, was a piggybackable contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then we can do
We included that language.
Is the committee interested in doing this?
The question, does the schools notify the public that the buses are now gonna be having cameras on them?
That's part of the state law. You have to notify that is
Okay.
occurring. You also have to do some educational outreach.
I know.
Dutchess County did outreach in addition to the school districts. You're also required under the state law to post signage in the county. In our contract, Bus Patrol paid for that signage, but we did the installation. So our Public Works Department did the actual installation of the signs.
I would think the interior cameras, a lot of community members aren't gonna like that, man. Their kids are being,
Well, a lot of them already have private cameras
it's
in
fine.
them, so.
There's been some real issues inside the buses, and they've installed
I know
cameras.
a couple of our vendors. Not
And
every
again,
bus,
not only the school gets that data, so we don't necessarily have to be involved in.
I know every bus in Germantown has it, but there's only a certain number of cameras that rotate through the buses, so.
I'm in favor of bringing Bus Patrol in for a discussion, if that, and I will check with our county attorney as well as our purchasing department to see, just to make sure we're on solid ground if we bring them in, but it makes total sense to have, since Rensselaer County has it and Dutchess County has it, it would make sense to have the same company.
So maybe if I have New Lebanon reach out to the other schools, report back, you reach out to the attorney. Again, if that's piggybackable, then we certainly can invite in just one vendor if our intention is to piggyback. It only makes sense, otherwise New Lebanon and Gallatin are gonna be in a situation where they can't.
Who are you gonna have, Paul, the schools?
So the school superintendent and the bus garage superintendent,
Whatever.
Andrew Court?
Andrew Court and Chris Howe runs the
Okay.
bus garage, and both of them emailed me and said we would really like this to happen. So I know they already have direct connections to all the schools, so I
I
can
know
simply.
Andrew too, so yeah, he
Yeah.
can get, Rex, he does that, have him reach out to me, so we at least
Okay.
we have data.
Yeah, they all have transportation.
I mean, again, is everybody interested?
I would support it. My mother-in-law used to be a school bus driver, and she said you wouldn't believe the number, especially on like
But
right
what
on
about
Route
the
19.
fact that the state, they have to renew it next year? Is that correct?
It's a short
The
runway.
state will have to renew they either will have to renew a demonstration program, which I frankly don't know if they have the capacity to do, or they have to enable it as an active law that then can be followed.
And I would imagine your contract with bus patrol has an out clause if somehow the state pilot or legislation is not continued.
Well, once they're in, they're in, I would think that you could still monitor.
On your own.
No,
I mean,
we would not be able to have the external cameras would have to be deactivated.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me. They wouldn't have to be deactivated, but we certainly could not enforce anything if the state law is not on the books.
And if bus patrol's putting up the money and it's potentially the program could be stopped, how do they get their revenue?
They don't.
So,
That's why the conversation with them is important.
Right, so you're only
Seems
looking
like
at
they
a
would,
year.
as a company, you would be cautious to do this.
Can we get an answer to how many of the 11,100 violations actually responded? Would that be something you could tell us?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We also have time. It's almost over, so.
And Rob, I'll include you on the
Yeah.
email. One thing that Mr. Court and Chris Howe said was that because county government and school districts take a long time to get through their legal process, they would love for them to be installed and contracted as of the start of the school
That's what
year.
I'm saying, so we have a little bit of time.
So that's why they were hoping that it could.
All right, so
get
we'll
moving.
jump on and then we'll have further discussion.
I'd be
If
really
I could
interested to
suggest-
see the percentage.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
so, who's paying, and the details of the contract we enter, are they gonna continue to pay the salary of who's reviewing this if we're only getting a few tickets or a few people paying?
Correct.
So I think a lot of that's gonna be.
Well, a lot of these are questions we need to.
Well, that's what they said. Their contract with them says there's no cost if the violation fees don't.
All right, so you'll get us that information if you would. And
Yeah, the only other thing I'd strongly suggest, learning from our experience, in addition to working with your school districts, you really, really need to reach out to your local magistrates, because they are going to decide if they are going to hear cases or not. We are struggling with several municipalities that have not agreed to hear any cases yet. So if you have a local magistrate that decides they don't want to hear these cases, you will not have any of those potential tickets, violations actually go through to fruition.
So somebody doesn't pay the ticket, wants to have a hearing, they somehow fill out the ticket and say, I want to have a hearing, it goes to the town of Austerlitz, and those judges are not gonna do that, it's just thrown in the garbage, basically.
It's in limbo at that point.
Okay. I think we have more
Even if,
questions. to get
even if the judges want to enforce it, and the people just don't do anything, you don't have to pay.
Right.
Well, I think if it goes to the court, then it would be different, correct?
Correct. If it goes to the court, they can't be assigned a late fee or anything of that nature because they've sought their right to seek adjudication. If they're
Right,
not
but
paying it, they're getting a late fee assigned to it. But correctly, there is no way or other mechanism other than sending notices to collect that fee at this point.
You can't scoff all them.
Wait, they get a late fee because they're contesting it?
No.
No,
So they don't get it.
they
They
don't
don't pay
contest
it
it.
and don't contest it.
So if just one more question, if they go to court and they're convicted of that charge, there's no points applicable to this charge, whether they paid the fine or went through the court system, it's not through the.
Correct. It's not a
vehicle
moving
traffic.
violation. It's not a moving violation, so there's no points.
that line, your data is showing these frequent areas where these things are happening often. You could certainly contact your sheriff's office or the state police and say, hey, between 7:30 and 8:30 at this intersection, we're having consistent bus passing. And then a trooper or a sheriff could issue a ticket that has some teeth. So that, I mean, that data is also an important thing to gather to say, these are the areas that it's happening. These are the times that it's happening.
Could you do that without it?
Yes. I mean, the
Anecdote.
other thing you can do, and we're doing this with the school district, is we're working with the transportation supervisors at locations to suggest, you know, if that location is appropriate, should they be moving that stop because they're having violations, in addition to training the drivers themselves. If we're seeing a lot of things where they're not putting the amber lights out and giving a warning, there's a retraining of the drivers to ensure that they're doing the proper procedure so the traveling public is adequately prepared for these stops when they occur. Brenda?
Do you know approximately how many buses in Dutchess County have these cameras?
Just short of 800.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
The only thing I could say is.
No, for now.
No, I'm good.
So we can probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. We'll continue our
Yeah, we
conversation.
appreciate your time.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming on very much.
You're very welcome. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Go ahead.
The only thing I was gonna say, and I know other supervisors, we had problems in our park and we put cameras in. Cameras are the, you know, lets us know everything. Well, do you believe how the stuff stops when people know there's cameras? I think it'll happen with the same on the buses. Once they start realizing they're getting filmed, whether they pay the fine or not, but eventually they're gonna get it in their heads, hey, I'm gonna have a snapshot of my car and other people are gonna know about it. So you're right, it gives us where the site is that it happens, and then it will tell us who they are. After a while, they're gonna start knowing, hey, what am I doing, you know?
The thing I don't understand, frankly, is the state in general. Why wouldn't you have points applicable to this? Why wouldn't you have
Because you don't know who's
something?
driving.
No, I know, but
Right? It's like when they take
well, it's
Same as when I cross,
photos at the stop.
same as when I cross the bridge.
but the car
I
gets
get, I get.
the
I get-
car
I
gets
get
the car gets the
It's my
ticket.
You
car.
still get
Car
the
gets
ticket.
the ticket.
It's my car.
Yeah. So you get the
But you know, in a bus who's driving it, I mean, at 8:08 on Thursday, the school can say Mrs. Jones was driving the bus, right? I realize it, but I'm just saying there's no teeth to these things,
Yeah.
which makes it really,
why the state's not enforcing.
yeah.
And they-
I understand your point, right? You wouldn't
Yeah,
know,
right.
but it's pretty
If
easy to
I
know
lend
who
my
drove the
car to
bus.
Somebody and they whiz past a bus,
Right.
I get the
You
ticket.
get the ticket.
Because they're not a legal authority.
Well, then, at that point, that's where you would have to contest it in court and say, I wasn't driving.
Right.
Well, and the way I look at it is, if there's no cost to the county, even if they get back to us and they say 10% of the people pay,
Right.
great, that cost is on them. They install, so at no cost to the county, if
It
it
is a
makes
cost.
10 kids,
Two part-time
10
employees.
Yeah.
kids safer.
Right.
You have to
I mean,
pay the.
yeah, there's-
we're gonna have
we have to
people
pay
that
the
are gonna have to
employees.
Monitor that.
I mean, this is what I see is that, yes, we, like, a lot of the actions that they describe, you can do without the cameras, right? Like, bus driver, we can do an education program to the public. Cameras don't actually help. Sheriff's Department, we can tell them what the troublesome zones are, and they can go out to those places. So a lot of that stuff we can do now. Some of the challenges that I see is that the law is kind of half-baked, right? You get this program, and even just to get it, we pass a local law, we get the school boards to pass a policy, we get the operators to pass a policy. Then we have this company, we hire our part-time workers to oversee the program. Then we get this program where they send out these tickets that are not enforceable. Judges maybe don't even see them. We have to talk to our judges to see if they're on board with it. And then by the time we get this done, it's like the program can end in a year, and there's no at this point there's not clear data that the program actually decreased. Like, right, if they came in and said we had 11,000 violations for the first 6 months, and the next 6 months we had 3,000 violations, they had some sort of, if they were like, we see this program works, that would be one thing. But it seems like a lot of red tape for something that's not that clear if it works.
But maybe by
I'd be
having
really
them
curious
come
to
in-
see that data of if
So
there was
let's
a decrease.
get the data. You'll start down that path. And
The
then we'll,
company be, yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead. And we'll put it back on the agenda. But I agree with Michael. I mean, that's sort of my position on this. I think it's a great idea, but
Right.
what's it gonna do?
If there's no teeth, and what's the?
The company be able to answer some of those questions. I'm not sure all of them, but you're right. There are a lot of what ifs. If that company will make the same kind of deal where they pay the part-time employees to review these, we had absolutely zero cost.
Yeah.
No problem.
Right, right.
But that's what you need to find out.
Question.
That's a detail.
So what happens if the sheriff's department is seeing somebody that runs by a school bus? Do they pull them over and give them a ticket? Or do
Okay.
they're breaking- all right, so they're breaking the law. Do they
Well,
get fined for that?
Well, yeah, they also get
So
a
why
different
isn't
ticket.
this being, they're just saying because their camera's not as good?
Because it's not a police
It's not a police
service
agency.
doing it, doing the job.
It's a vendor.
And you don't identify who's driving the car.
Right.
from
And
the-
there's no.
Well, I know, but if you don't pay, like you said, you don't pay a toll.
Yeah,
you
but
gotta
there's-
pay-
There's
I get
no law,
it.
there's no
I get it.
law on the
Right.
books enabling
Gotcha. They
the.
have to make a law.
But on a toll, the state will revoke your registration regardless of who drove. So at least to that point, sorry, I don't know
Right,
why I'm
I'm just
talking to you about it. But I'm saying that, the bus could lose its registration. You know what I'm saying? Like somehow there has to be some other enforcement. If you'd say it's not the person, which I completely agree, that's true.
But not to get too into the weeds, but with a toll, it is the car that you're charging.
Right.
The car on the road is charged a toll for driving on the road, regardless of who is driving.
Right.
But
So
the law-
a toll, but a moving violation is not on the car, it's on the driver. And if you have a
Well,
camera
no,
that doesn't
somebody loans
show-
you the car, pull the reg. I mean, there's gotta be, there are other ways to enforce this,
Yeah,
and
but
I
right
hate
now,
laws that have
the
no.
law accommodates that.
What's
Right
that?
now, I don't know if the law accommodates that right now.
Correct, that's what I'm saying.
And it should be the driver who's responsible, not a registration, not a car.
Agreed.
Right.
Right, but if you can't prove it,
But yeah.
you can prove it was a car.
If I
You
have a
can't prove
rental
it
car
was
and I
any
get pulled
car.
over for
That's the
speed,
problem.
Well,
I
I'll tell you
can't
what-
penalize the
I'll tell you, if I get a ticket for somebody that I lent, I say, I wasn't driving the car that Thursday.
I think we
Joe Snow was. Well, guess what? Joe Snow's not bothering my car anymore.
Brenda?
I gotta give you
Don't you also
Oh,
think part of
Yeah, you're not using my car.
Hang on.
Hold on. Getting new violations on my.
Brenda?
part of the reason you have a demonstration program is to see if we get enough buy-in. So
Mm-hmm.
if there are more counties that adopt this, and the state is more likely to continue it and maybe proceed with it. But the reason I asked the number of buses, that's $150,000 a month in Dutchess County. So that bus patrol has a vested interest in making this work because they've got a lot of money out of pocket.
I think, and potential loss, of a lot of income. So I think
But did
they would lobby
He said
New York State to.
He didn't seem all that confident with the program, I'm sorry, to me.
He said, well,
He was a little bit like, well,
Maybe they're not getting enough money.
yeah. I'm fine with
Well,
it.
It's not a revenue producing thing.
Yeah, but it should be, but for us, it's a safety thing. For them, it's a revenue producing thing. It has to make money or they wouldn't be putting
But so
cameras in.
here's the kernel. This is the bottom line. Is it actually making a difference in people's
Right.
behavior?
Right.
Is it achieving the goal of
Correct.
safety?
And if it is, it's worth two part-time positions.
But so far, we don't know the
And
answer.
maybe part of this is talking to our, our bus people, our private contractors, our school districts and find out, how prevalent is the problem? And, do they see this being effective? When they came to us back last year, I had a conversation with Mike Johnson about it. And he had said that they already have cameras in their buses, not on the outside of the buses, but he had indicated he would welcome, the cameras.
Okay,
So you're gonna, just to wrap this up, you're gonna
gonna
have
CC
Andrew
you.
and CC me and we'll get some little more data. We'll get the data from them. Hopefully that shows, let's say there's 11,000 tickets and all of a sudden we see that, 9,500 of them paid or whatever, or, then we'll know there's some.
And or for the first 6 months, it was 6,000, and for the
Right.
second 6 months, it was only
3,000.
I mean, I think that's.
Correct, that's important.
and
That's
when we
all.
invite bus patrol, because Rensselaer County and Dutchess County aren't the only counties, we can say, we are specific, when we invite you to the meeting, we're specifically looking for data that shows,
Hey, Matt, you're gonna check and see if we can have one company come, correct? That was
Yeah, I was
basically the
gonna talk
question.
to Rob
All right.
and
So we'll,
Greg.
we'll bring this back up on the agenda, okay? Any other questions? Any
I
questions?
would also
Public?
suggest that everybody reach out to their judges and see what support, from that side we have.
I wouldn't know.
Nobody judges are gonna
When I was
force
in
anything.
traffic safety board, I was the secretary. We used to have, we didn't obviously do that. We actually rode on the buses with a police officer one day. And it's amazing how many people passed.
Like I said, my mother-in-law was a bus driver.
Brenda?
so the concern you were talking about, him not appearing as enthusiastic this time as the first time.
I just thought he was a little bit flat. How's
But
that? For me, that's all.
The bigger concern for me was that he mentioned at least 3 times that this was the contract that he negotiated, as if those terms might not still be available.
Right.
Well,
Right. That's sort of where I was
No,
going.
I understand, but I.
That's
think
sort of
he
where I
just
was
finished
going with it.
up.
Like maybe he
I don't
wasn't
expect those terms.
correct. That's what I was.
Well, if the violation, if you expect, they expected the violations to go down and they didn't hit their profit margin. So this is peak, they're at peak. They're at peak violations and they didn't hit the 60-40 split.
Right.
So it might be that, yeah, bus patrol would
Right.
want different terms. Right?
Correct. That's
And the amount of money they collected might be indicative of how seriously people took those tickets.
right. That's
If they paid it and they said, damn, I'm never gonna lend my car to that, my cousin anymore, or if they said, I've learned my lesson, I'm not gonna pass it. Either way, I think if people aren't paying it and it's just blowing it off,
well, that's what you're finding in the court
That may
system.
not
So, without the
bode well.
scoff law, she can tell you that people aren't paying it. So, that's what ends up happening if they don't feel they have to.
Or if bus patrol's model is based on revenue and their model is actually successful in decreasing the amount of people that pass a school bus,
They're putting themselves.
it's
out
a
of business.
failing model.
They're gonna put themselves out of business.
11,000 to
That would be
3,000.
the best thing in the world if we could put a company like that out of business.
It's a pretty shitty business.
Yeah.
I have a question, just to follow up, because George Keeler's
I'm
not
sorry.
here. Do you know an update on the firefighting foam?
I
know
don't.
George
He was
Keeler-
just here, but,
No, George wasn't here.
George wasn't here.
He was
We
here
could-
earlier today.
that's it.
We can call him and ask him if he
Or
was
just
doing,
No, I said earlier.
Meeting.
Yeah.
he was doing a survey of the fire companies.
Okay.
to see.
Yeah. so-
Maybe ask him at next meeting to have
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Just
summary.
send me a little note
Because
and
I
I'll check with him.
Think that if he finds there's a lot, we need to modify that resolution because it only talked about purchasing, not reimbursing.
Yeah.
We talked about. potential
Yeah, well, he responded quickly, so we can check with him. I think it's gonna take a little more time than just, I think those like about a week now.
Okay.
Maybe by the end of the month, we can check with him again, but before the next meeting for sure.
And we know where the fish studies are. For the-
Still working on them, I know.
But we're coming into budget season.
Yeah. We haven't gotten, anything yet, so. We had met with them not that long
Yeah,
ago.
I think they're close in terms of recommendations. I mean, that's basically what.
You're talking about for, the
EMS.
EMS.
EMS and fire.
Fire is gonna be behind EMS.
Okay.
Um,
So
Um,
EMS for this year,
PJ
fire
said-
next year.
Well, I don't know about,
PJ said July, full board.
For both or one?
I believe
Yeah.
both.
EMS, I feel.
really?
I think so. He sent me an email.
Because, we met with them not that long ago here, and we were talking about, what they, remember what they wanted us to look at, and that was only, I'm talking about for fire. It was only a few weeks ago, so I don't know. The EMS they've been working on for quite some time, so.
I know they're coming back. to interview fire commissioners.
Right.
Okay, so it says tentative date for Fitch and Associates to finalize our EMS report is June 30th.
Yeah, EMS.
I've asked them to hold July 12th open for a report to the full board.
I think fire's gonna be maybe a couple months behind that, would be my guess, so. All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, opposed? So carried. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.